Hi everyone, my name's Craig Hallam. I'm an author from Yorkshire. Normally I write fantasy, sci-fi, gothic fiction, things like that. But more recently I wrote a book on living with depression and anxiety called Down Days, which ended up randomly being an international bestseller. It still feels a little weird. But anyway, today I want to read to you from my latest book, which is a dark fantasy called Emmy. It's set after humanity has basically been burnt out by a global fever. I know a little bit, with recent events, but basically it's 500 years later and the earth has healed itself, become an Eden, if you will. And the creatures that came before humanity have returned. This is based on Japanese mythology mostly. I love anime and Japanese culture. So the creatures that come back are heavily based on that Japanese kind of aesthetic. There are only two people left, and they are long since dead. So the two main characters are basically wandering undead. And that's kind of where the darkness comes in, I guess. But anyway, I'm going to read to you from the first chapter of Emmy, and I hope you enjoy it. The grass had decided to become everything it could be, growing until only the barn's roof was visible above the swaying fronds. Slates had slipped, making wounds that exposed wooden ribs beneath. In the eaves, a dried bird's nest rattled in the breeze. Christopher stood at the foot of the hill, looking up at the sagging roof. Drifting toward the dilapidated marvel, his progress could be seen as a shifting wake in the tall grass, a shark splitting water. Skirting the barn's perimeter, he swept hair the colour of dirty butter from his eyes. Cracks and creases in the stonework grinned and grimaced. The masonry sprouted vibrant mosses and the odd weed flower. Some stones lay on the ground, some shards of broken slate. He stood at a distance for a while, looking up and down the walls, back the way he had come, across the fields where the wind made eddies in the wild wheat that chased like swallows. He looked to the horizon, simply because his eye fell there, made from a spine of hilltops, and saw beyond them, to the empty prairies and meadows and clear green rivers he'd already traversed, everything silent and blooming and undisturbed. He circled back around to the barn's doors. They hung askew, holes gaping between moulded planks. The chain, so badly rusted that its links were immovable, snapped in Christopher's bare hands. Where it had lain across the door, a deep red grin scarred the wood. The scent of ancient hay and animal dung still remained inside. Light bled through slats of the boarded window in two glistening shafts. If he still breathed, Christopher would have caught his breath. One shaft of light came to rest on a pair of mottled legs, curled beneath a summer dress of lemon and white. It was stiff with dirt, torn and frayed at the embroidered hem. A pair of dainty white socks had yellowed with age above pretty dust-covered shoes. The other beam caressed the crown of a bowed head. Blonde locks weaving their way like a golden briar about the child's head. Christopher tried to speak, but only released a squeak of desiccated vocal cords. His unused tongue made a dry clack between receding gums. Hello? He managed in a dry rasp. The small legs retreated into the dark. The sound of a chain dragging in dirt as the little dead girl stepped forward, uncertain in what must have been her first steps in an age. Reaching the extent of her chain, wrapped thrice around her tiny waist, the girl jerked backward and almost off balance, waving her arms to stay upright. By the light from the broken doorway, Christopher could see she was 7, maybe 8 years old, and had been for a very long time. Her leather T-bar shoes pointed slightly toward each other at the toes. Her hands hung slack on the apron of her dress. Her right sleeve was a tatter, the thin bicep beneath shredded. Christopher's hand strayed to his stomach, a spot on his threadbare dungarees where the rubbing had worn the denim white. Your name. Christopher forced the sounds from his mouth, kneeling to her. The girl lifted her head, hair plastered across her ashen forehead in some long-forgotten fever. Christopher reached out to brush it aside, a reflex he didn't realise he'd forgotten until it was remembered. Her eyes were the yellow of the sickness, the colour of his own. Your name, he asked again, his voice becoming softer with the practice, returning to its old disarming whisper. When she opened her mouth, a moth battered its way from her lips and escaped through the wounded roof. Emmy, crackled the girl. My name is Emmy. There you go. That's the first chapter of Emmy, my post-apocalyptic dark fantasy. Hope you all enjoyed listening. Please do check out the links below, and I hope you're all staying safe and well. See you soon.